Stay Healthy's health ambassador, nutritionist, author, researcher, and the guy who cares, and that's why we share. And today we are going to be talking about or bringing clarity to what is meant by plant based. I hear people say it all the time. Oh, yeah, I'm going plant based. Oh, yeah, I'm plant based. Well, I kind of keep it plant based. Yeah, I'm not dieting, I'm plant based. Like you hear it all the time. And I don't believe that the people who are saying it actually know what it is because I don't think they would say it that way. So if you're new and you're catching me on YouTube live, do me a favor and please subscribe and share. Hit the bell and make sure that you are notified whenever we do go live because each and every time I don't want to waste your time. I want to invest in your time and put you in a position where you are better informed as well as empowered to make the best decisions for your health, for your body, for your weight, and for your mind, if you know what I'm saying. And if you got questions, please post, whether you're on Facebook, doesn't matter where you are. I have the software and the capabilities of looking at your questions and hopefully providing answers, whether you caught me live or you're catching the replay. Now, for starters, let me ask you and comment, participate with me here without looking it up. If someone said, I'm plant based, what does plant based eating mean to you? What is that? Right? So if you're sitting on a plane and you're talking to someone, they go, yeah, I'm plant based. Do you ask them, like, what does that mean? Or do you just assume it means something else? So what is plant based? Seriously, like in the comments, someone on the live or even on the replay, as you're listening to this, without jumping ahead, what is meant by plant based eating? Now, as you put yourself in a position to, I want to get a few answers in there. I want to share with you a little video. In this video, pandemic, it ties into exactly what we've experienced, with these viruses and the challenges that we've had over the last couple of years. And I love how there was a lot of urgency, there was a lot of talk, there was a lot of people wanting to know real answers, people like frustrated. I mean, people stood up and are still standing up and looking for clarity and demanding it and protesting, fighting for their rights. Well, when it comes to nutrition and its relationship to this growing challenge we have with excess body fat, insulin resistance, and a lot of the challenges that are associated and connected with the foods that we're eating, I would love to see people become frustrated and stand up and demand for clarity. Because the same thing that has taken place with someone like a Dr. Fauci, where there's questions, you feel like one person's making all decisions. Back in the day in the 50s and 100% in the 60s, there was one man that had a narrative and did what he felt was necessary to encourage us to eat a certain way and change the game. And you can see where this one person made these decisions, set us up for the first, pyramid that we follow as far as nutrition recommendations from the government. And when all that launched by 1980, everything was in place. And you can see that we've gotten worse. And we now know, because we have access to all the paperwork, the proof is there, that he didn't tell us the truth and put us on a path where now nobody wants to acknowledge the truth. And so we will just continue to find ourselves unclear. It's really mind blowing to me. But anyway, the focus today is to give you some clarity as it pertains to what we're talking about. And that is, what does it mean to eat plant-based? What does it mean to eat plant-based? Okay. Well, this is what plant-based means, or what it doesn't mean. It does not mean that you are a vegan. However, you are plant-based if you're a vegan. It doesn't mean that you're a vegetarian, but it is plant-based when you're vegetarian. So a vegan is plant-based, a vegetarian is plant-based. So what the hell is plant-based? If you eat a steak and there's absolutely no vegetables, there's nothing that comes from a plant, absolutely no carbs, right? Carbs come from a plant, and you only have meat, then that's not plant-based. That's something else. That could be keto, or you just may choose to eat just meat that day or for that meal. Plant-based basically is when you don't eat a lot of animal food. So could I have chicken as part of a plant-based meal? There's chicken, but there's also a lot of plants. That is plant-based. You with me? Is plant-based when you don't have any animal? Yep, that's plant-based. So how much is too much and you're no longer plant-based? Well, again, it's not plant-based when there's no plants. If it's plant-based, that just means that you're mindful. You're thinking about eating a variety of plants, which is great. I've been plant-based my whole life because I've always eaten collard greens. I've always had some broccoli on the plate. I've always eaten, other plant-based foods as I was still eating a hamburger. So plant-based, actually, let me just, I don't want to just give you my definition. Let's just go to Wikipedia. And this is what they say. A plant-based diet is a diet consisting mostly or entirely of plant-based food. So a vegan would be plant-based because they don't eat any meat. So mostly or entirely. Plant-based diets encompass a wide range of dietary patterns that contain low amounts of animal products and high amounts of plant products such as vegetables, fruits. They say whole cereals, legumes, nuts, seeds. They do not need to be a vegan. You do not need to be a vegetarian to be plant-based. However, if you're going to eat fish, if you're going to eat chicken, and that's kind of accepted by most plant-based people in that culture, and you eat a minimal of it compared to if you're eating steaks and pork, some of the plant-based people would say that's not plant-based. But in my opinion, if the majority of your plate, your bowl, your cup, if the majority of it, as far as volume, is made up of plants, then it's plant-based. So plant-based is just now a new term that's being used and thrown around that a lot of marketing companies are marketing to. Like they may say, this is plant-based. This is plant-based. Well, if it's a package full of vegetables, it's obvious that it's plant-based, right? It's like there is no secret here. It's plant-based. Now, if you're spending most of your time, looking at foods that aren't made up of vegetables, fruits, legumes, etc., then you're moving away from being plant-based. So think of the base of your meal being carbohydrates, plant-based. And it's unfortunate, but there's many people, and this may even be you, that don't even look at a lot of plant-based foods as carbs. I can't tell you how many people I've sat down with and coached over the years that never looked at broccoli as a carb. They never looked at asparagus as a carb. They would separate them. Well, that's broccoli. And carbs, they usually define as bread and pasta and pizza and cake, because we are in this world where carbs have been demonized wrongfully. So plant-based, it includes anything that's plant, it comes from a plant. And if you're going to have some meat as part of that meal, like we would call it, let's say if I went with a protein source with the Diet Free Life methodology, and I go with, let's say I wanted trout. I'm craving trout today. Well, when I do my trout, then I'm going to do some mixed slow carb vegetables, and I'm very happy and content with that meal. And I may put a yam in there, which is a fast carb, and I'm content with that meal. And that meal would be plant-based. See, education is king, people. Education is king. Okay, so remember, like Raquel mentioned, she said a diet that is closer to plant life more than animal consumption. Again, people are like, what does that mean? Like how much is the right? You know, like my cousin says, I love plant-based. Again, like what the hell does that mean? Right? I love plant-based. If you eat vegetables, okay, I'm gonna say it one more time. If you eat collard greens, if you eat mustard greens, if you eat broccoli, if you're eating bell peppers, that is plant-based. Now, I don't know what your life is like before eating vegetables, but plant-based is if you're enjoying vegetables and you don't eat, let's say, as much meat as you once did, or animal-based food as you once did. And most people in the culture of plant-based will be okay with you eating chicken, fish. They may even be okay with turkey, but if they see you eating steak, they would probably question it. But for me, and a guy who has lived life where I was a vegan for 10 years, and the majority of my adult life, I fall under the category of pesco ovo vegetarian, meaning that I ate primarily fish. If it came out of the water, I would eat it. And if it was like eggs and cheese, I would eat. So that's where that whole term comes from. Um, and then you have people who are like, vegetarians, but they will bring in a little bit of chicken. Again, if there's plants on your plate, God bless you, because that dietary fiber is your friend. We know that all of God's plant-based foods contribute to improving your gut health, your gut microbiome, and that will make a whole bunch of other things ideal. And in closing, another reason why I'm stressing this or sharing this is so that you have clarity. And I believe and have learned over the years that when you have clarity, there's no confusion. You can have confidence with how you talk about it and how you go about it. And when you're successful with that, you can experience a continuance of success. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. At the end of the day. Hey, you guys, thank you. I'm Robert Ferguson, America's Fat Loss Coach, nutritionist. I've been doing this for a long time. That doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about. I've just been doing it for a long time, but I am dedicated to make sure that whatever I'm sharing from a place where I'm caring, and I do care. So I'm Robert Ferguson. And